Good morning. Good morning. Boring day for a Monday. This is probably going to be a rather quick pre-market prep because honestly, ain't a lot going on. So we're just going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. I know I've said this every time we do this, but I know you can't see my scanner screen. One of these days I'm going to share that. But for now, I'm just going to type into here the gappers, and basically we're going to go through them just kind of a little bit at a time. All right, now INM and CNTB, honestly, they're the only two real day one gappers. Over here we got PACW, which is one of the regional banks that's been going through all the turmoil. And then we have HUBC, which is more of a, at this point, multi-day runner. Yeah. So as far as true day one gappers, we got these two here. And I actually already put them into DOS as well. The reason for that is this new flash sec button, which I posted a little quick short last night just to show this, but this is super cool. I'm going to go over that here in a second as well. But anyway, let's just do INM first. It's the biggest gapper of the day, which is only a whopping 27%. It's not offering a lot of range. And the daily is pretty beat down. 8 gaps, it's closed red 63% of the time, so yeah, it's okay. But there's just not a lot of good levels on the chart to use as risk points because it's so beat down. Just ain't much there. Yeah, it's rough. So at least go into these filings. Like I said, I put a new little short up last night about this, how to add this flash sec button to your montage. But basically, if you add that and you have access to flash sec, you have a subscription, you can put in whatever ticker you have, hit the button, and then it will pull this up, which is awesome. You can get float information, market cap information at a ton of different websites. FinViz, Trade Ideas, FlashSec, Dilution Tracker, Yahoo Finance, all over the place. All the different brokers. I think Thinkorswim has their own source. But I use and trust FlashSec the most. So the fact that I can have this hotkey here, just click it, and it pulls this up to give me access to the most accurate, in my opinion, the most accurate float data, market cap, etc. I like that. The other reason I like FlashSec, like I've said before, is because of the financials that it shows you, which right off the bat lets me know they have $0.00, broke as shit. So as we continue down, they've obviously had a ton of warrants over the years. Months, actually, a couple years, all been exercised, so invalid. But they do have a current open S3 that is still a little more, it's about 2/3 left of it. So they could, of course, tap this at any point in time during this run up, which, like I said, this run up is not super impressive. But let's see what the news is. Looks like it's a biotech. So this is the news that pulls up. It doesn't even look like much. Looks like it's up on pretty much air. But unfortunately, like I said, on the daily, there's just not a lot of solid areas to work with because it is so beat down. You could maybe say the 140 level. 140 to 150, which is also pre-market high. Some resistance there on the daily, but it's not much. Also, little to no volume. It's just not, in my opinion, an A plus A, even in the slightest. Gap stats aren't great. 63% of the time, it has closed below open, and sometimes on these, when it's closed above open, it's had some pretty solid gains on days like that too. However, per usual, I'm doing this pretty early because I got kids to get ready and all that good stuff. But there's plenty of time before open, so who knows what'll happen. Like right now, it's messing around with that 140 level. So 140 to 150 looks like it could be okay. So if I were to mark these things, same as always. Do 140. 150 just because it's a nice whole level, whole dollar just above those levels. Beyond that, it's literally like every 10 cents there's a decent 160. You could maybe say 170. Nah, I wouldn't even say 170. At that point, I'd say at least 180. This thing's just choppy. Can't even get a decent trend line out of it. This one's tough. It's not a great setup. I would definitely wait for this one to open, see how it reacts at open. The 140 to 150 level, which is also right there at pre-market high. You know, I may take a shot at it. Wouldn't risk much because it's not up a lot. It's just not a great risk reward on it compared to some gappers that we've been getting. So I'd play it pretty conservatively. I wouldn't size in big. I keep size small. I keep risk tight. If I hit it at 145, I'd probably risk maybe 10 cents to make 20 cents, maybe 30 if it really started trending down hard at open. But it's just not one that I love. 160 will be an interesting level. Just have to see how it goes. But don't love it. Lines drawn. See what happens. Next one was that CNTB, which is really the only other true day one gapper. Let me go over here. So I've talked about this before too. Going back to INM, it's the 15-minute with the volume profile. Kind of shows where the volume's being distributed at in pre-market. I like to use those as some pretty solid levels. Still early, like I said, but just shows where the accumulation and the distribution is. So if it falls below these levels, it could make it tough to get back above. But again, we'll see how it plays out. Still plenty of time before open. But CNTB, oh, yeah, this one sucks too. It's only up 13%. It's barely, to be honest, if a gapper is not up at least 20%, I typically don't even look at it. This one, at one point, as you can see, when it was right up in here, this would have been up 20% as far as a gap, but it has since fallen. So this one honestly doesn't, at this point, interest me. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. If it got back up into these levels, I'd keep an eye on it. Even something like a gap and crap where I'm looking to hit VWAP, you know, when it does that little VWAP push, fades. In my opinion, if it's only up, it's right now it's up 15%. It just doesn't leave a lot. So I don't even consider that really, for me, a valid gap and crap setup. I need it to be up more. I need it to be up at least 20 or 30% because if it's a gap and crap, it means it's faded hard before open and then it's popping back up to that VWAP level. So it leaves you with a solid chunk of the move. This one's not really providing that. So pretty lackluster day as far as gappers. And even day two plays. HUBC is not really a day two play because it's been running nonstop. This is one Also, not really day two play because it's kind of been running for multiple days, up from two. So this thing's up more than 100% in just a couple days. Got all the way into the sevens at one point after hours or pre-market. This one's been tricky. This is the one that had the offering. Everybody thought it was going to tank. Super low float. I think it's sub-mil float. It just squeezed out a lot of people, but it's definitely something I'm keeping on watch for some major levels to break because it is still up a ton. Like if I could see it break 4, that might be something I'd watch. And then all these people here might start panic selling. We could really start getting a pretty big flush out of this thing because this thing, the offering was somewhere in the twos. So this thing is still way up. But I think I had mentioned last week that it was considered a private placement style offering, which they tend to put a more bullish spin on those. Still a load of shit, but they still try to put a more bullish spin on them. And then when you have a micro float sub mil and shorts pile in, this is what you get. So it's going to crack at some point. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be next week. Just something I'm definitely going to keep on watch. So that aside, HEBC, I'd maybe watch for a lower high on it. Like I said, this thing's been running for multiple days, and it kind of just keeps grinding. It may have finally topped out. I don't know. We'll see. It's not something I'm super excited about either. But that aside, I think this is what we're going to get for a while. The market's in a lot of uncertainty right now. Actually, I'll pull up a SPY chart. This is SPY. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some market expert, SPY expert, market analyst, economist, whatever. I think the gist of it is no one knows what the hell is going to happen. And a lot of people are pretending like they do, when in reality, no one knows. And if you look at SPY the last week, that really does show that literally no one knows. Up, down, up, down, up, down. No one knows what's going to happen. The bank stuff is still weighing heavy on the entire sentiment, in my opinion. But it's one of those things where still to this day, it's been like a week. It's not even been that long, but a singular headline can still really change everything. I think there's some Fed events this week, but a lot of uncertainty. No one knows what's going to happen. I would say it's definitely somewhat of a trader's market. You know, you're in, you're out. I wouldn't overstay in anything, especially if you're messing around with these bank stocks, even the SPY. QQQ, which is all the tech stuff. In my opinion, this is what's really been holding the market together. Tech has been just rising despite everything else around it. And I think that's kind of, again, not acting like I know everything, but I think tech is kind of holding up the market as a whole. It's shouldering a lot of weight. Pretty overextended considering the rest of the market. I think a lot of people are going to look to get short into this type of stuff. We'll see. I don't know. It's not something I usually mess with. I look at these things just for overall market sentiment. But the gist of it is, I don't think anyone knows what the hell is going to happen. Still, the bank stocks are very volatile. I mean, PACW is considered a day one gapper because it closed here and it's gapped up. But FRC had some headlines come out about buyers, this, that, and the other. So now all these other bank stocks are gapping, and it's going to be crazy, I think, for a while with these bank stocks. Tons of volatility, but like I said, ain't nothing wrong with trading them. I may trade them at given levels. Not something I'm going to go over and cover in detail, but it would definitely not be a trade I would overstay in because one headline can, like I said, skew these things in some major ways very quickly. So I wouldn't overstay. But it's just going to be a lot of uncertainty, which I think is going to create lackluster gapper days like today, like INM. This is the biggest gapper at 27% currently. And it's not a great one. As far as true day one gapper, this is number 2. And it is only up 15%. So this might be the type of week where, because I'll be honest, for me personally, I've been probably over trading the last couple weeks just because of the amount of opportunities. I usually only take 2, 3 trades a day. Lately, it's been like, well, 2, 3 tickers a day. But lately, it's probably been closer to 5, 6 plus a day on average, which is abnormal for me, but it's been just obviously tons of volatility. However, in the next week or two, it may be the complete opposite. I may take 1 to 2 tickers per day because there's just not a lot of things that are setting up. And I'm trying to really stay away from the bank stocks and stay pretty disciplined on those unless they get to a major level of resistance or there's some major something to really draw me. It's got to be a very good reason for me to trade that. I'm not going to just trade those to trade those. It would have to be at a major hourly, daily level, serious trend, something. Otherwise, I'm not going to get involved, but that's just me personally. So these are the type of days when discipline is going to be key. As we saw from my trading last week, Thursday, I lost all discipline and completely butchered a trade and just took a max loss. I don't want to repeat that, obviously. So discipline is going to be my key for this week. I have a whiteboard behind me where I keep a couple key notes, a couple things that I'm focused on for the week or whatever. My whiteboard literally has one word, and it is discipline. That is it, because that's what I need to focus on this week. Focusing on things that are actually in my playbook, not getting involved if I don't see an edge, not pushing buttons to push buttons. But today looks like it's going to be a test of that discipline because there's just not a lot setting up. So if there's not a lot setting up, it may be a type of day where I watch things for an hour or two in the morning. If nothing sets up, I walk away, maybe come back a couple hours later, keep an eye out for pairs. I would be perfectly okay with not taking a trade today if nothing sets up. Not ideal for a Monday, but this month has proven a lot of things to me, one of which is waiting for opportunities, because when all this bank stuff happened last week on Friday and Monday, 2 Fridays ago, and last Monday, I mean, you know, it was something I was prepared for and really helped make the month. So you wait for your opportunities, I guess that's all I'm getting at. So I'm getting on a soapbox because there's just not a lot to talk about with stocks today as far as true day one gappers. Like I said, I'll keep these things on watch. THMO, definitely I'll watch. HUBC also, you know, the 3 level, that'll definitely get me interested. 3 to 330. THMO, I don't want to be early on this one. This is the one I took the max loss on, and I'm not going to be early again. I'm not going to take a max loss again. I will wait for some key levels. I would love for it to get back to 6 maybe for a shot. I'd keep my risk intact. I'd keep it tight. And I wouldn't obviously do what I did last week. But definitely keep it on watch because it's up more than, like I said, 100% in just a couple days. And it's still holding up. And then, of course, the bank stocks, always keeping those on watch. Another one I have a side monitor where I have like 8 other charts that I kind of have on side watch. ENZ is another one I have on side watch. It gapped up huge here, and it held its basically the whole move. It never really gave shorts a break. It never really let them out. So I would love a clear out, and then I'd kind of keep that on watch. A clear out to 3 would be awesome. But we'll see what happens. But it's something I just kind of have on side watch. I haven't been doing as well with these type of plays as I have more of the day ones. But if we're going to get action like this in the coming weeks where we don't get as many day one gappers, this is where I have to really focus on these type of plays and get better. So we'll see what happens. Actually, let me look at one thing here. This is ENZ. So not a super low float. If you care about the IO stuff, I don't being at 40% doesn't really bother me, but it's a 40% IO. Basically, no cash, but no current dilution options that I'm seeing. Could change any day, though. So, ENZ is something I'm keeping a watch on. THMO was that other one, but they just did. Yeah. They just did that offering here. Anyway, there's not a lot going on. Like I said, there is still quite a bit of time before market open. However, I am trying to make this short and sweet today because it is a Monday. I want to take as much time to prepare as should everyone else. However, there's just not a ton of stuff to prepare for as far as day one gappers. So discipline, patience is going to be the key for the day, probably for the week, because I think this is what we're going to get for the foreseeable future. I just can't see during all this turmoil we get some amazing day one gappers. Usually when our market conditions as a whole are pretty rocky like they are right now with a lot of uncertainty, the day one gappers just aren't as great. Of course, if you're in a bull market, you get 1,000% gappers, hundreds of percent gappers. Bear market, typically the opposite. And then moments like this where it's somewhat of an uncertainty, I don't think we're going to get any great gappers in the near future, but I hope that changes. We'll see what happens. Anyway, 7:40 my time, 8:40 market time. 50 minutes until open. I'm going to cut this short because there's not a lot to talk about, and I'm going to get off my soapbox. We broke down INM again. Don't love it. Drew some lines at some what I feel like could be key levels, but again, it's not. Just sucks, honestly. We'll see what happens. Got some levels drawn. It may work out. You know, if you get short right in here, this 140, 150 area, and you risk 10 cents to make 30, that's a 3-1 risk reward on a subpar day, on a lackluster day. That is actually, in my opinion, a great trade any day of the week with any market conditions. I love a 3-1 setup. So if you can risk 10 cents to make 30 cents on INM, shit, I'd take that any day of the week on any given trade, especially on days like today. Even 2-1 on something like INM. And actually, if I'm in INM, I am going to take the majority of my position out at a 2-1, probably leave a little trailer on for that 3-1 risk reward. But to get a 2-1 even out of something like INM, which is a subpar setup on a subpar day, you can't be mad at that. Just don't get caught up on all these massive wins and gains you see on Twitter. Just take the base hits. 2-1 risk reward on a subpar day. It's better than 99.9999% of the people out there, despite what you're going to see on old FinTwit. Anyway, that's a soapbox I could get on all day long. I'm going to stop there. Sorry for the lack of plays today. We'll see what happens later on this week. But with that, good luck today. Safe, discipline, all that good stuff. Peace.